Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of my devlog, The Last Castle. In this series, we will go through the makings of the game, and along the way, I will showcase my scripts so you can follow along and learn as well. This is not a step-by-step tutorial. This series is geared more towards intermediate developers. I hope you guys enjoy. By the end of this episode, we will have a little scene with our player as well as an enemy spawner. There will be multiple variables you can alter, consisting of interval time in which enemies are instantiated, time between attacks, enemy movement speed, the amount of enemy spawn, the player's max health, and the damage the enemies can do per attack. Let's get started. Here, I'm just downloading everything I need for the project, being Cinemachine, Sprite 2D, as well as upgrading my Visual Studio editor. I have already brought in my assets that I will be using. The assets that I use are going to be the Synty Assets, along with various other Unity Store products. I will put links in the description below. Here, I just made a basic animator for the player. It'll have an idle animation as well as an attack animation. The idle animation will start on play, and then the attack will trigger when attacking an enemy when one is in range. I made a few scripts, one being the enemy spawner, which will go on an empty game object in the scene. The other is the player controller, which will of course go onto the player. This is the beginning steps of the enemy spawner. Later we will change it to hold a list of enemies each wave, and that list will instantiate random enemies, which we will set values to. Right now we're just getting the functionality of spawning an enemy in with an interval for the time between spawning and attacking the player. Here I made an enemy with a basic animator as well. The animator consists of the walking animation, which will fire once instantiated, as well as the attack animation, which will fire once in range of the player. I've created several scripts, the enemy controller and the enemy details SO. This of course is the enemy controller. This will handle when the enemy is out of range to walk towards the player, and then once in range it will attack. It will also hold an enemy detail scriptable object. Of course you could go about this a million different ways, however I really enjoy using scriptable objects to make creating prefabs simple and fast. The enemy details SO will hold certain variables for the enemy. It consists of damage, attack interval of time between attacks, and movement speed. Like I've said before, this is not a step-by-step tutorial, and this is for intermediate coders. If you are unfamiliar with scriptable objects and how they're used, then I suggest you look further into that. The main reason I am not doing a beginner tutorial is because I've noticed there is already a surplus of channels that do basic beginner tutorials, and I'd like to put something different out there along with my devlogs. Next, I've created a health script. This will go on both the player and the enemy. Since they use the same methods, I find it silly to duplicate the code. I just make it check by tag if it's the player or the enemy when they die, so that of course you get different methods. Right here I'm creating an empty game object and labeling it as the player attack transform. Instead of using the physical player itself for the enemies to attack, I'm creating a transform that will be in place of the player for the enemies to follow and attack. that would be placed at the base of the castle. Since the player is so high up, there could be some issues with the enemies never getting within range of the player, thus never attacking. Next, I am making a health UI script and attaching it to the health UI I've created so that we can of course easily see the enemies attacking and what our current health is. And there you have it, just a few basic scripts to get us off to a great start. We've got the enemy running to the player and attacking, as well as we can see our current health and the enemies deducting health from us in correspondence to their damage. Thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. This will greatly help my channel out and give me the moral support I need to further my devlogs. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.